All right, so there is a ton of stuff happening in the AI chat GPT world, and things are evolving every single day. So in today's episode, I really just want to do a quick kind of play-by-play slash discovery session with you guys, and honestly get up to speed with ChatGPT, with the Microsoft investment in ChatGPT, and talk about Google and what they're rolling out. Today is Tuesday, February 7th. So a lot of the stuff is still in development, and it'll likely evolve over time. But rather than doing a full deep dive and try to pretend like I have all the answers, honestly, in today's episode, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through the latest news, and we're going to try to figure this out together. We're going to try to figure out what's happening. I'm going to tell you kind of what I'm thinking about as we're diving into this, and then write down a bunch of questions that I have, and we may or may not have answers to what's happening, but I'm super excited. The reason I'm shooting this video now is because I just saw a couple of announcements, and so I want to dive into that and give you my reaction and my take. So let's dive into this episode of the HFS show. All right, so honestly, I'm going to open up my screen here, and I have my Notion up and some quick general notes on, again, what's happening, how I'm thinking about this, and then questions I have. So the first thing that comes to mind when I'm looking at this is it's Google versus Bing. Now, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you know that Microsoft owns Bing, and you probably also know that not a lot of people use Bing unless Bing is on your desktop by computer, because for some reason you're a Microsoft user. Then you probably haven't visited Bing in a long time. I'm looking at this from the perspective of an advertising agency. So I run an advertising firm, and we spend probably millions of dollars a year, definitely millions of dollars a year for our clients on primarily Google, not so much Bing. And so this has huge implications for our industry, for advertising and SEO, which are the two kind of primary ways to drive leads and sales for businesses. Now, I guess let me zoom out and let me think about how I'm approaching this before we dive into what's actually happening. We're running an ad agency. You spend a ton of money trying to get leads for clients. So let's say you're a doctor's office and you're looking for a podiatrist near me, right? A foot doctor. If you don't know what that is, a foot doctor. And so you go on Google, you type in podiatrist near me. Let's go look at that. And you're probably doing this on your computer or on your mobile, right? Those are the two. You might ask one of your voice assistants. And so you'll see these top things are ads. Then you have the local pack here, and then you have which these are Google My Business reviews, as well as you'll find different search results, right? So you have ZocDoc, you have Yelp, and so on to find those. Now, Google makes the bulk of their money off of these things up here called ads, right? And then advertisers and marketers will pay for advertisements up there, but then we'll also spend a lot of time optimizing third-party profiles like Yelp and ZocDoc and a bunch of other third-party profiles, as well as trying to rank for blog posts and articles depending on where you're at. Now, you could easily do the same thing on Bing and type that in. Now, this isn't the sexy stuff, but again, you'll see up here, you'll see some of the local listings, which I believe these are pulled from Yelp or Facebook. Oh, wow, it's pulling Facebook. See, I haven't used Bing in freaking years. So it used to pull search results from different parties, but now it's pulling search results or reviews here from Facebook. So that's interesting. Okay, that's not why this is all exciting, but I guess from my vantage point is we spend a lot of time with the bulk of our time optimizing all these different profiles, whether it's your website or your third-party site, or spending a ton of freaking money on advertising to try to get in front of advertisers. Now, ChatGPT, they are, if you don't know what that is, let me just go back and let's go to ChatGPT. There's a company called OpenAI, which originally started as an artificial intelligence. And again, this might be not the way to do this, but I'm trying to also make sense of it in my own head, right? So let me go ahead and log in on a separate screen. So this was I think it was started as a nonprofit because super rich and powerful people said this is too much power for one private company to handle, right? And so they started this as a nonprofit. Eventually, they turned it into a for-profit. How that whole thing happened and where they're at now, I do not know. But a few months ago, probably not even a month ago, ChatGPT came out. Our team has been super excited. We've been using it. It took the world by storm. It's been nuts. That's not what this video is about. I'm just trying to create a mental model, I guess, for myself as I'm working through this. So, see, there's a new update. Mathematical faculty, okay, factuality and math. Okay, so just another update, right? So you would ask it. A lot of people have been using it, or, for us as an advertising agency. The big thing is we were using tools like Jasper. .ai to assist us in copywriting, right? To write blog posts and to do a bunch of copy related tasks, right? So you could give it a prompt, tell it to write a clever headline, and we would use that as a starting off point, whether you're a copywriter or not, as a starting off point to move forward. And so for us, when ChatGPT was announced, we were using it primarily as the same way we were using a tool like Jasper. That's not the most exciting thing, but it's how we were using it. Depending on the industry you're in, if you were a developer, you would then use it for other things, right? And so for code reviews and whatnot. Give me a second. Well, it doesn't matter. So you were using it for kind of code reviews and other things like that, right? And so it gives you a bunch of things here on what it could and couldn't do. And so when it first came out, I'm like, it's not that interesting. It's not that exciting, honestly, because I was comparing it to something like Jasper. And then there's been other competitors. When Jasper, we've probably been using for better part of a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. I don't know when they came out, but it's been a while, right? And so the novelty of ChatGPT for me, from an advertising perspective, was like, it's when I when I think about AI, I'm like, that's interesting, but it's not like profoundly game changing. Everybody's freaking out. It's like, oh, it's amazing, but honestly, again, it wasn't the most exciting thing. It was helping me with copywriting. Where I really got interested was the investment in, I saw the virality of it because it became more open to the public, and I thought it was interesting for the public to use and play around with it. But what ended up happening was it just became very buzzy, right? Where I got interested is when Microsoft invested a gajillion dollars. Microsoft investment in ChatGPT. So that was maybe 2 weeks ago. What did they invest? $10 billion. So that's what they set out to invest. Some gigantic number. And I'm like, okay, how is that happening? Right? Where is this going? To me, I was comparing ChatGPT again to something like Jasper or something like, when I asked Siri, and I ask Siri a gazillion questions all the time. My wife gets very annoyed because I have conversations with Siri asking her, what's the population of this? What's the some random stat? Who does this? Like, just any question that I have, immediately I go to Siri, right? So I'm like, okay, it's a better version of Siri, I guess, because you can actually have conversations, which is a really, really cool thing. Inside of ChatGPT is you can have multiple conversations and continue on the train of thought, versus Siri, you would ask it a question and it will be like, okay, I gave you an answer, but then you can't ask follow-up questions. So that is one new thing in ChatGPT that I found quite interesting. I don't know why I'm sharing that screen, but I found it quite interesting, right? And that you could continue on and your queries would get better. And there's all these Discord groups and Facebook groups and Twitter community that would test new things, right? And see, like, I haven't spent too much time on that. Okay, so the way I was thinking about it was that the other thing that was happening a lot is it kept logging us out and kept saying like, hey, you have we don't have server capacity. Like it will log you out. It didn't scale after it went super viral. It didn't allow you to type stuff in, right? And so I started off with like search. I didn't think it was going to impact search as much. I honestly thought this was going to be some sort of, and again, this is why I'm shooting this video, because things are changing so fast, and it's quite, I don't want to say alarming, but it is most certainly interesting to think about where we're going, where the world is headed. Here's why. Everybody was like, it's going to affect search, right? Google is, for the first time in a long time, finally has a competitor that could dethrone Google. And Google is one of the most valuable companies. Google revenue and Google valuation. Valuation market cap is $1.36 trillion. And I'm like, how could something that is, I mean, Siri has existed for a long time, Jasper, again, a couple of years. How could ChatGPT like really dethrone Google, if you will, right? $76 billion. Most of this $76 billion in revenue, this is Q4 consolidated. So that was just Q4 2020. Oops. So in the full year, $283 billion. I don't even know if that's the right one, but it's a lot of money, right? And so how can some widgety kind of thing really disrupt it? Again, when Microsoft gets in the game and pours $10 billion into this investment, into this company, that got my attention. And so all that to say is I went in circles. I probably should have started here. At least this is when I saw it, is introducing the new Bing. I can't remember the last time people have been talking about Bing. I certainly haven't talked about Bing in forever. But introducing the new Bing, ask real questions, get complete answers. I mean, why wouldn't it be complete before? I need to throw, and now is where I'm diving into like what is happening today and really taking a look at this and kind of giving you my reaction / play-by-play. Can you suggest a 3-course menu with a chocolate dessert? I hired an assistant recently to do that for me. I'm planning a trip for our anniversary in September. Where are some places you can go? So these are way more advanced queries than flights to London, right? And you're giving them anniversary, you're giving specific dates, you're giving them a lot more data. Arts and crafts ideas with instructions for a toddler using cardboard boxes, plastic. So it's giving you suggestions on how it thinks you should use how it thinks it should use this thing. Okay, let me try the Heathrow one. Yeah, let's try this one. What happens if I click try it? Okay, look at this. This is the interesting part. Congratulations on your anniversary. There's only a 3-hour flight, suggestions. If you like beaches, if you like mountains, and then it's giving you citations. So there's a lot here to really digest. Introducing the new Bing AI-powered search engine. Join the waitlist. Let's go ahead and join that. No, I don't want a Microsoft account, but okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay, so now you guys are going to see my email, which I really didn't think that through. If you email me, that's fine. Hopefully not a lot of people are watching this anyway. What I really should do is blur that out. But, okay, so now I'm logged in. Great, you're on the wait list. Okay, so I just went in and I already had a Bing account or a Microsoft account for some odd reason. And then here you go. So let me actually grab this and type it into, so that's this specific search query is not something I would ask ChatGPT naturally. Like it's just, it doesn't cross my mind that I could ask that. That's not why I'm doing that, right? So I'm typing that in whatever they suggested into ChatGPT. And this is different. This is a 3-hour flight from London. These are all the cities. So if I compare that to the Bing search results, and it's interesting they put it on the right, because on the left hand side you still have your normal queries, normal search results. There's 71 million search results which try to answer that. This tells you the best September anniversary travel ideas. Then you have an ad here for Expedia, right? And then you have these guys, which Google does a similar thing. Okay, well, let's now compare. And this is, I'm just using the search query from Google suggested. Sorry, thinking out loud. So you see that that's a completely different. That's weird, because Google's is whack. It just gives you a bunch of ads. And so if you're a consumer, would you rather? Oh, this is interesting. Again, this is going to be, I don't want to say a game changer, but it at least makes Bing interesting. Because, I mean, would you rather read this? Congratulations on your anniversary. Here's some suggestions based on your preferences and destination. So eventually it's going to continue to collect data off of you. If you visited something, let's say I click on an ad to Expedia and I book something to Spain and it knows that I've already been in Spain, well, it can maybe suggest something new that I haven't been to, right? Or if I rated my Spain trip not as highly and I rated Morocco for whatever reason, then highly, then it might suggest a different experience for me. I don't know. It might also know that I don't know how to swim. I don't know, and therefore it might not suggest a lake. I don't know. I wonder what this does to privacy. Okay, I am curious on these because one of the big, see, now it's giving you a bunch of citations. It's processing all of these different search results, synthesizing them into an answer, whereas here it's not. It's just trying to send search results to tripsavvy.com. So this is going to be huge, not only for the little guys, right? So I don't know who runs TripSavvy or whether the little guy or not, but these guys have commercial usage, right? So Expedia is spending millions and millions of dollars a month advertising both on Google and on Bing. Let's go see. And now there's an ad for a search for Yahoo or on Yahoo. Expedia doesn't show up here, but they are running ads on Bing for that query. Okay, so back to this. Are you, as a user, do you prefer to read something that is synthesized, something that is organized for you, or do you prefer to go through a bunch of ads like how Google has it and then go down there? That's also probably the reason Google is showing you this search result. Is this probably isn't how I would use Google, right? I'm not telling it I have an anniversary in September. I would type in London flights, and I'm not even looking for a London flight in that specific thing, but what is 3 hours away from London? There you go. And so it gives me a list. That's less helpful. But what is 3 hours in a flight? That's a dumb question, but places to visit. So this doesn't have a lot of commercial intent. And then I have to go through and search for a bunch of stuff. So I guess my initial reaction is it's interesting that they put it on the right-hand side because usually users go from left to right. So the fact that they put that on the right-hand side is interesting to me. The fact that they're giving me citations, which has been a big discussion because, again, it's billions and billions of dollars that people spend to try to either show up organically in SEO or they try to do that with paid advertising. So if you start answering, and that's been one of the biggest things here with search results, best cities near London. So is people also ask for, you see this 17 places. So it gives me a list and then I might not actually click that website. I might be like, I'm done with that answer. So that website loses all that traffic. And so people, they kind of have a love-hate relationship with that stuff. But with ChatGPT, here it doesn't give me any references, right? And so here it just gives me information. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if it's true or not. If you're asking it for medical advice or legal advice, it'll probably spin something up. This has so many implications. It's kind of wild, and people have been asking it dumb questions. I'm trying to think of a dumb question to ask. Why does my foot hurt? I don't know. I'm thinking of podiatrist because that was my initial search. Foot pain can be caused by a variety of reasons, including yada yada. Okay, so and this also got very slow for a period of time here. It's probably going to get faster over time. But like sitting here and waiting for this to give me answers, I guess if you're giving it a complicated, piece of code to debug, cool, I'll sit here and wait 5 minutes for an answer. Or if I'm asking it to write a script or a screenplay or something, right? I think that'll be interesting. And one of the things, as I'm talking out loud, one of the key things that I'm seeing in all of this is how you search. And so that's going to be, I've heard a lot of people talk about that, or a handful of people talk about this, where what you actually type in to get a result back is going to be probably super important. Not probably, it is super, super important for you for us as a human to be able to give it the right command that then gives us the right answers, right? So getting really good at asking those questions or the prompts or whatever it is that you're trying to create is going to be really important. What you dictate to the AI versus my question of why does my foot hurt, right? So the more specific you are, the more qualitative you can be, the better. It's something, admittedly, at least in this video, I'm not doing a good job of, but also I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that because usually my first search result, I'm going to pivot and fine tune that as I get going, right? People do this all the time on Google right now, where they will type in the question and then Reddit because they want to read other people's answers. So what happens to Reddit's traffic? That'll be interesting because in here in Bing, if I do this, it actually links me to the page. So what happened? Yeah, again, that's interesting. When you hover over it, it tells you where it's going to take you. And then when you click that, it takes you to this blog post. So a lot of this content, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I haven't even touched on, okay, let's see. How can I book a flight to Malaga? So now it's asking me to continue on the conversation. And then this is, chat mode is only available when you have access to the new Bing. So it's not even giving me access. Whoa, I didn't know that. I'm 22 minutes into this video and I probably should have clicked it, because that is the powerful thing about up here is this is unrelated. So I went from, and see, that's because I'm not used to thinking about chatting with an AI. I went from I have an anniversary trip to my foot hurts. Like those two things are unrelated, so it doesn't build off of that. Let me go ahead and restart that. Let me start a new chat here in ChatGPT and just use the prompt suggested by Bing. It's going to give me the answer. I'll come back to that, and then I'm going to follow up on a train of thought there. I've already joined the wait list, but I can click learn more, introducing the new Bing, ask real questions, get complete answers, chat, and create. So that's the key there is you chat with it, you give it feedback, and then the answers get better versus right now. If I were to go to Google and I disagree with something that's on here, well, I could get in touch with the publisher and I could do all this crazy stuff, but I could just, in the chat version of this, I could just go back and forth and then fine tune that, give it feedback and train it. And then if enough people, I guess, give it the same feedback, it's going to learn over time. So, which is probably scary as well. Okay, so which one has the best food? So I ask it, hey, 3-hour flight, where else can I go? And then I'm like, which one has the best food? Let's see if it gives me Paris. Now it's giving me an opinion based on the follow-up answer. That's something that you can't do in Google, right? So if I go back to Google and I type in, who has the best food, it's like best food related to what? And that's one thing that is with the voice assistants as well. You won't you can't do follow-up answers and have conversations, right? And so let's see. Anyway, I could keep going back and forth and having a conversation. This seems a little bit trivial because now it's like, rather than when I started, I was thinking about this in the frame of mind of a copywriting assistant, right? And now I'm thinking about it in the way we use search. I haven't even talked about Google's reaction. Google AI search. So Google has made heavy investments in AI in the past 5 years at least. Not at least 5 years. And so there we go. Just a day ago or today, how to use Google Bard AI. Google unveils ChatGPT rival Bard. My recording software crashed there. Lost my train of thought. But let's jump back into kind of wrapping up my general thoughts on where we're going. It's really Google versus Microsoft trying to figure out what they're going to do with search because it directly affects their business. And let me quickly pull up here Google AI Bard. So I don't even know what that is and how you get access to that. So that was a day ago. An important journey, an important step in our journey. So yeah, that was yesterday. Introducing Bard. How do I play around with Bard? So they've been sitting on this for a while. I have no doubt that obviously they have tried to do that. And now that ChatGPT came out, they're scrambling to, I don't think play catch up necessarily, because I do think that they have strategically positioned themselves. Honestly, at the end of the day, here are my kind of general thoughts. This is really cool, really exciting. I think we're still trying to understand it. As somebody that works in not tech, but is techie, if you will, I think a lot of this stuff has a long way to go. It was a great move by Microsoft to try to make their search engine relevant again, but it affects so many different other things. I heard the CEO of Google talk about the uses of AI, and one of the things that he talked about, he's like, the autopilot engineer at Tesla uses it, and he's one of the best engineers for artificial intelligence. He uses ChatGPT to run a little bit of code as an augmenter. I don't know if that's a word, but as a way to augment his own capacity and creativity. So you have one of the brightest minds in artificial intelligence, like that guy at Tesla. And the other example that he was saying is they were using AI to answer basic customer service requests in rural India for a lot of the people who I think he said it, he must have been, but a lot of people in rural parts of developing countries, they're illiterate or have very little access or very little education. They're trying to get access to government programs, and they call in, and you would bog down the phone lines with a real human. By having an artificial intelligence that's able to have simple conversations, and Google's already been able to do that by calling a restaurant and making a reservation for you, right? So if the restaurant didn't have an online booking system, Google's assistant, you could push it and it would call the restaurant and say, hey, can I get a reservation for, at 7:30 p.m. and so on, and try to get that, confirm that, call you back and let you know, or send you an email notification. So Google has already been playing with that stuff. It's accelerating like crazy. And that's the thing I'm excited about, is that it's accelerating. The big companies are trying to figure out how to use it. I think there's going to be, for sure, winners and losers in all of this. Just like anytime there is revolutionary technology. And to say a simple comparison is, when the internet came out, Google came out as well. You had directories and phone books and media and newspapers, and the media industry is now trying to figure out, it's been trying to figure out for 10 plus years, maybe even longer, 15, 20 years, what its position in the world is, right? And so you look at cabs and something like Uber, although Uber was on a couple of layers above the mobile technology and so on. So I think there's going to be winners and losers, but I don't really think about this from that perspective. I always look at it from a perspective of how does this make the creators, make the people working in day to day, how does it make their lives better? It augments their knowledge, their skills, their access to resources. What it also does is it allows people to save time, just like self-driving. Now, I have a Tesla. Self-driving on that, even full self-driving on that, in my opinion, kind of sucks. It's a little bit stressful, to be honest, and I prefer not to use it because I feel like it's going to hit the curb, especially in California when things are really tight and there's like, anyway, I digress. But I think we're still 5 years from it really, taking off. But this stuff is the fact that there's that heavy of investment, that it's because of ChatGPT, it really forced Google to roll out their versions of it and probably accelerate their timeline at least by a year, if not 2-3 years. I think that's interesting. That's my take. We're probably, this will be something people talk about for a long, long time. And I may or may not do more of these videos as I kind of see something interesting. But today specifically, it affected my work and what I do in the advertising space, because it made Bing, at least as of today, a topic of conversation and a little bit relevant. And we'll see what Google does. So I hope you found this video, this episode specifically, valuable. Would love to hear what your thoughts are. Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Let me know. Tweet at me, or let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you watching.